I'm bored right now, and Undertale and Deltarune brain rot has infected me beyond a reasonable point, and I feel like filming a video. So I'm going to talk about some Undertale and Deltarune theories that I've seen on the internet and my thoughts on them. Now, I will say this video will mainly be Undertale theories as opposed to Deltarune theories, just because I haven't finished chapter 2 yet, let alone chapters 3 and 4, and I'm really trying to avoid spoilers as best I can. So I'm just not going, I didn't delve into Deltarune theories as deeply as I did the Undertale theories, so there won't be as many Deltarune theories, but we will be talking about Deltarune a little bit. The first two theories that I have kind of go hand in hand with each other. At least I feel like they go hand in hand. I feel like they're kind of two sides of the same coin, and it's that Frisk is a monster and Sans is a human. I just I don't really agree with these, because whenever I was reading through the evidence for these two theories, the evidence just wasn't strong enough to convince me. So, like, the evidence that Frisk is a monster is the fact that none of the monsters really address Frisk as a human. And I was thinking about this because I was playing through the pacifist route, and whenever they were looking for a human, they weren't recognizing them as looking at Frisk and be like, oh, there's the human. They were having to base it off of, oh, the human was wearing a striped shirt, or the human was wearing a bandana, and things like that, to be able to recognize Frisk as the human. But I just the way I took that, I took that as they haven't seen a human in a while, or they see humans so rarely that they aren't sure what humans look like, and it's a land of monsters, so it's not like they don't see people who look a bunch of different sort of ways. So I feel like it's not unreasonable that they wouldn't immediately recognize Frisk as the human without those things. I just feel like that the evidence presented just wasn't very strong to me. It didn't convince me. So that one's going to go into I disagree. And the same with Sans. The only real evidence that they have as to how Sans is a human is that Sans doesn't show his bones as much as Papyrus. And I don't know, it just wasn't enough to convince me. The next theory I have theories written out on my iPad right here. I initially erased it because I was like, I'm not going to waste these people's time with that. But I guess I'll talk on it. It's that Gaster is related somehow to Sans and Papyrus. I agree. And I feel like it was kind of confirmed in the 10th anniversary stream. So I agree. The next theory that I have is that the other six humans are actually alive at the end of the pacifist route, that they got resurrected and that they're alive. This one is gonna fall under, I don't necessarily agree, but I think it'd be really fun. I kind of prefer the tragedy that is the face value story that the other humans died, because I feel like it just makes more sense with the story and the relationship between Asgore and Toriel. And yeah, I just think it works better for the story, but I think that would be really fun if they were actually alive at the end of the game. And I think it would make the bittersweet ending of the pacifist route a little more sweet and less on the bitter side. So yeah, I think it would be really fun if they were alive. The next theory I have is a Deltarune theory, and the theory is that the entire story is actually fake. The evidence that I saw in the post that I read this in wasn't very convincing. I also hate stories where it's like, oh, and it was all a dream. I hate when that happens. Like, the ending to that one Twilight movie where it was like, oh, it was actually just a flashback of what if happened. No, I didn't like it. So I don't agree with this theory, and I would also be pretty upset if the theory ended up being correct. The next theories that I have kind of also go hand in hand. The theory that I really disagree with and honestly really don't like is that Kara is evil. I don't think Kara is evil. I think Kara was just a child and was doing their best with what they knew how to. And there's a bunch of videos that go into why Kara isn't evil. There's a bunch of videos that delve into Kara's character and how they're present throughout the game. So I'm not going to go into too much detail just because I feel like everything's already been said, but I will say that Kara is present in every single route, including the pacifist route. Yes, including the genocide route, Kara is present in a major way in the genocide route, but Kara is also pretty present in the pacifist route. And there's a line in the Azrael fight that's like, oh, you call out their name. And I think what that is referring to is you're calling out to Kara to help save Azrael. And Kara helps save their friend, their brother, in the pacifist route. A theory that I read that I do like and that I do agree with is that Kara is the narrator, and I feel like it just makes sense that Kara would be the narrator of the game. This one's kind of both a deltarune and an undertale theory, and it's that the river person in Undertale is a darkener, and that one is gonna go, there wasn't much presented evidence for that, so the evidence was just that the cloak that the river person wears looks a lot like the cloak that Ralsei wears in Deltarune. And so that one's gonna have to go under, I'm not sure I necessarily agree with it, but I think that would be really fun if that were the case. A theory that I saw that I don't like is that Azrael is actually dead in Deltarune. And my reasoning for not liking this is not based on any sort of fact presented in the game, any sort of like evidence presented in the media. I just don't like it because I'm biased, because Azrael's my favorite character, and Azrael's story in Undertale is so tragic that I would love for him to be alive and well in Deltarune. And for the last point of this video, I'm just gonna kind of touch on a trend that I've seen where it's like Deltarune theories that like look at the story in the context of the Undertale lore, and I just don't agree with those, because Toby Fox has said that the story is completely separate from Undertale. It's not a sequel, it's not a prequel to Undertale. It uses a lot of the same game mechanics and it uses a lot of the same characters, but it's a separate story. So I feel like it's not really fair to analyze it under the context of the Undertale lore, because they're just separate games. And I think it can be fun to like look at like similarities and parallels between the two games, but I don't think it's necessarily fair to compare them just because they're two separate games and two separate stories. So that's all I have for today. I was just bored, just felt like filming a video. I'm not feeling the greatest right now. You can probably see that my face is a little red. It's because I'm not feeling well. So I'm gonna go rest because I have stuff I gotta do tomorrow. But thank you, this was fun.